My wife tried to rewrite my will to favor my spoiled daughter without my knowledge. I found out and took immediate action. I'm a 58-year-old man who built my life through hard work and perseverance. Growing up without much, I vowed that my children would never have to struggle the way I did. I made a comfortable life for my family, and while I was proud of my accomplishments, I could see how my generosity had unintentionally created entitlement, especially in my youngest daughter, S. S was my wife's favorite. She had a way of getting everything she wanted, whether it was through charm, tears, or manipulation. I'd always been firm with her, trying to teach her responsibility, but my wife constantly undermined me. "She's just a child," she would say, even when S was well in her 20s and still relying on us for everything. I didn't think much of it until I overheard something that would change everything. One evening, I walked into my study and noticed my wife's laptop open on my desk. It wasn't unusual for her to leave it there, but something caught my eye, a document titled Revised Will. My stomach turned. I hadn't discussed any changes to my will, and curiosity got the better of me. I opened the document. As I read, my blood began to boil. The document outlined changes that would leave the bulk of my estate, including my business and savings, to S. My other children, who had worked hard and built their own lives, were left with token amounts. I scrolled to the bottom and saw a forged signature of mine. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My wife had not only rewritten my will without my knowledge, but she had also tried to pass it off as legitimate. I knew she favored S, but this was beyond anything I could have imagined. I decided to confront her that night. "Care to explain this?" I said, holding up a printout of the document as she walked into the living room. Her face turned pale. "Where did you find that?" "On your laptop," I replied coldly. "What were you thinking? Did you really think I wouldn't notice?" She tried to regain her composure. "It's not what you think. I was just drafting some ideas. I thought we could discuss it." "Discuss it?" I said, incredulous. "You forged my signature and tried to rewrite my will behind my back. This isn't a discussion. It's betrayal." She shifted uncomfortably. "S deserves more than the others. They're already well off, and she needs help. She needs to grow up." I snapped. "I'm done coddling her, and I can't believe you'd go behind my back like this." My wife's expression hardened. "You've always been so harsh on her. She's your daughter, and she deserves a future funded by deceit and entitlement." I shot back. "This isn't about helping S. This is about enabling her. And you've crossed the line." Instead of apologizing, she doubled down. "Fine. If you won't help her, I will. Someone has to look out for her." Her words stung, but they also revealed just how deeply she was willing to go to favor S. This wasn't just favoritism. It was manipulation. I knew I couldn't trust her anymore. That night, I locked away my will and other important documents in a secure safe, changing the combination. I also contacted my lawyer the next morning to discuss what I had found. He confirmed what I suspected. Her actions were not only unethical, but illegal. If she had filed that forged document, it could have led to years of legal battles for my other children. "We need to protect your assets immediately," my lawyer said. "Freeze any accounts she might have access to, and we'll draft a new will with stricter safeguards." The following days were tense. I didn't tell my wife about the steps I was taking, but she must have sensed something was off. She became defensive and distant, constantly checking in on my activities. Meanwhile, I started noticing subtle changes in her behavior. She was spending more time with S, whispering behind closed doors and making odd phone calls. One evening, I decided to follow her to see where she was going. She left the house claiming she was meeting a friend, but instead, she drove to S's apartment. I parked discreetly and waited. After an hour, she came out carrying a stack of papers. I couldn't see what they were, but I had a sinking feeling they were related to the will. The next morning, I confronted her again. "What were you doing at S's last night?" She looked startled, but quickly masked it with indignation. "I don't have to explain myself to you. You do when it involves my estate," I said firmly. "I'm done with the lies." If you don't come clean, I'll take legal action. That threat broke her composure. You're being ridiculous. Everything I've done is for the good of the family. No, I said sharply. Everything you've done is for S, and you've betrayed my trust in the process. Her entitlement was staggering. She genuinely believed she was justified in rewriting my will and manipulating me. But I wasn't going to let her get away with it. The confrontation with my wife was the tipping point. I could no longer ignore how far she was willing to go, not just to favor S, but to undermine everything I'd worked for. I decided it was time to act decisively. The first thing I did was hire a forensic document expert to analyze the forged will. My lawyer advised me that having proof of the forgery would be critical if my wife tried to challenge the legal documents I was preparing. Sure enough, the expert confirmed that my signature had been forged. With this evidence, I filed for a legal injunction to prevent any tampering with my assets. Meanwhile, I decided to sit down with my other children. They needed to know what was happening. Over coffee one Sunday morning, I laid everything out for them. This is about more than just the will, I told them. Your mother has been manipulating me, and I won't stand for it anymore. I've already taken steps to ensure this doesn't affect you. They were shocked but supportive. My eldest, who had always been the most pragmatic, said, Dad, you've done the right thing. If she's willing to go this far, who knows what else she's capable of? Their support gave me the strength to push forward. I knew the road ahead would be messy, but I was determined to protect not just my estate, but also my dignity. A week later, my lawyer called with updates. The new will was finalized, and I had officially frozen all accounts that my wife or S might have access to. I felt a sense of relief knowing that I had safeguarded my hard-earned assets. But I wasn't done yet. I confronted my wife one final time. I know everything, I said calmly, presenting her with the forensic report and the legal documents. Her face turned pale, but she tried to play innocent. You're overreacting. I never intended to file that will. It was just an idea. Save it, I said coldly. You forged my signature and tried to rewrite my legacy without my consent. That's fraud, and I have the proof. She tried to shift the blame. S put me up to it. She's the one who needs help, and I was just trying to... Enough! I interrupted. You're responsible for your actions, and I won't let you drag me down with your lies. The following day, I filed for separation and had her served with legal papers to begin the divorce process. She was furious, but I was unmoved. Her betrayal had destroyed any trust or respect I had left for her. The fallout from my decision was swift. My wife moved out of the house and went to stay with S, which didn't surprise me. What did surprise me was how quickly S jumped into the fray. She began calling family members and spreading lies about me, claiming I had abandoned the family and was trying to cheat her out of her rightful inheritance. Her smear campaign didn't hold up for long, though. I had already spoken to my lawyer about releasing key evidence to close family members if needed. When the truth about the forged will and my wife's actions came to light, the family quickly turned on them. S and my wife doubled down on their entitlement, threatening to take me to court for unfair treatment. I welcomed the challenge. My lawyer reminded me, they don't have a leg to stand on. If they try to fight this, they'll only embarrass themselves further. Sure enough, when my wife's lawyer attempted to file a petition challenging the distribution of assets, the court rejected it outright. The forged will, coupled with my legal documentation of their actions, was undeniable. Their attempt to manipulate the system had backfired spectacularly. With my wife and S publicly exposed, the dominoes began to fall. Friends and extended family who had initially sympathized with them quickly distanced themselves. Even S's social circle seemed to dwindle as people realized the extent of her entitlement. My eldest daughter reached out to me one evening. Dad, I know this has been hard, but you've handled it better than I ever could have. We're proud of you for standing your ground. Her words meant everything to me. For the first time in months, I felt a sense of closure. I had fought to protect not just my assets, but the principles I stood for, and it had been worth it. In the end, my wife's actions had only brought about her downfall. The divorce was finalized within months, and I was granted sole ownership of my estate. S, meanwhile, was left scrambling to find financial support elsewhere. I heard through the grapevine that she had tried to manipulate a distant relative into helping her, but was met with rejection. Reflecting on everything, I realized that I had allowed my wife and S to exploit my kindness for far too long. Cutting ties with them wasn't just about protecting my assets. It was about reclaiming my life and my peace of mind. If there's one thing this experience has taught me, it's that standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. If you enjoyed this tale of justice served, hit subscribe and stick around. You never know when entitlement and karma might collide.